We rely on electricity every day. From the moment we wake up to the time we go to bed, electricity powers our lives. Lights, appliances, our phones, it all runs on power. Imagine a day without electricity. It would be almost impossible to function. But electricity can be dangerous if not handled properly. Faulty wiring, damaged outlets, and improper use of electrical devices can pose serious risks. That's where circuit breakers come in. They are essential components of your home's electrical system, designed to protect you and your property. Think of them like safety guards for your electrical system. They monitor the flow of electricity and act quickly to prevent any potential hazards. A circuit breaker's main job is to prevent electrical overloads. When too much current flows through the system, the breaker trips to stop the flow. These overloads can happen when you plug in too many things at once or if there's a fault in your wiring. Overloading your circuits can cause serious damage. Overloads are dangerous because they generate heat, which can lead to fires. Electrical fires can spread quickly and cause extensive damage. Breakers cut off the power when they sense an overload, preventing damage and keeping you safe. They are your first line of defense against electrical hazards. Understanding how to troubleshoot a breaker is an important skill for any homeowner. It can save you time, money, and ensure your home remains safe. Knowing how to identify and address a faulty breaker can save you from a lot of trouble. It can prevent small issues from becoming major problems. It can be the difference between a minor inconvenience and a major electrical hazard. A little knowledge goes a long way in ensuring safety. So, let's dive in and learn how to troubleshoot your breaker like a pro. With the right tools and knowledge, you can handle most electrical issues confidently. Before we jump into troubleshooting, it's helpful to understand the basics of how a circuit breaker works. Don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds. Inside the breaker, there's a simple mechanism, a switch and a spring-loaded contact. When the electrical current flowing through the breaker exceeds a safe level, the switch is tripped, breaking the circuit and stopping the flow of electricity. There are two main types of circuit breakers, thermal and magnetic. Thermal breakers trip when they get too hot from excess current. Magnetic breakers trip instantly when they sense a sudden surge of electricity, like what happens with a short circuit. Most modern homes use a combination of both types for optimal protection. Understanding this basic mechanism will help you grasp why certain troubleshooting steps are necessary. Now that you know what a breaker does, let's dive deeper into understanding how to identify if your breaker is acting up. A circuit breaker is a crucial component in your electrical system, designed to protect your home from electrical overloads and potential fires, but like any other device, it can develop issues over time. Let's talk about how to tell if yours is faulty. Identifying a faulty breaker early can save you from bigger problems down the line. It's not just about the inconvenience of losing power. A malfunctioning breaker can pose serious safety risks. A breaker that trips occasionally might not be a cause for concern. This is often a sign that the breaker is doing its job by preventing an overload. However, if you find yourself constantly resetting the breaker, it's time to investigate further. Frequent tripping or other unusual behavior is a sign that something is wrong. This could be due to a variety of reasons, such as an overloaded circuit, a short circuit, or even a ground fault. Each of these issues requires a different approach to fix. Here are some common symptoms of a faulty breaker. Recognizing these symptoms early can help you take the necessary steps to address the problem before it escalates. Frequent tripping. If a breaker trips every time you use a certain appliance or plug in multiple devices on the same circuit, it could be a sign of an overloaded circuit or a faulty breaker. Overloading can cause the breaker to heat up and trip to prevent damage. Warm or hot breaker. A breaker that's warm or hot to the touch is definitely not a good sign. This indicates that the breaker is overheating and needs immediate attention. Overheating can lead to the breaker failing completely, which can be dangerous. Burning smell. A burning smell coming from the electrical panel is a serious red flag. Turn off the main breaker immediately and call a qualified electrician. This smell often indicates that the insulation on the wires is melting, which can lead to a fire. Visible damage. Any signs of physical damage to the breaker, such as cracks, discoloration, or melted plastic, warrant immediate replacement. Physical damage can compromise the breaker's ability to function properly, increasing the risk of electrical hazards. If you notice any of these symptoms, it's crucial to address the issue promptly to prevent further damage or potential hazards. Ignoring these signs can lead to more severe electrical problems, including the risk of fire. Always consult a professional electrician to ensure your home's electrical system is safe and functioning correctly. Before you attempt any troubleshooting, safety must be your top priority when dealing with electricity. Even a small mistake can have serious consequences. Here's what you need to do before you begin. Turn off the power. Locate your main breaker, usually a double-width switch, and flip it to the off position. This will cut off power to the entire panel. Gather your tools. You'll need a flashlight, a non-contact voltage tester to double-check that the power is off, and possibly a multimeter for further testing. Wear appropriate gear. Put on safety glasses and insulated gloves to protect yourself from electrical shocks. Remember, electricity is unforgiving. Never work on your electrical panel if you're unsure about something or uncomfortable with the task at hand. In such cases, it's always best to call a qualified electrician. Alright, so let's dive into one of the first and easiest troubleshooting steps, resetting the trip breaker. Sometimes, a breaker trips due to a temporary surge or overload. What you need to do is locate the trip breaker in your panel. You'll notice it because it will be partially or fully switched to the off position. To reset it, simply flip the breaker all the way to the off position and then back to the on position. Now, if the breaker stays on, the problem might have been just a temporary overload, but if the breaker trips again immediately or shortly after resetting it, well, there's likely an underlying issue that needs further investigation. If resetting the breaker doesn't solve the problem, a short circuit could be the culprit. Short circuits are common electrical issues that can cause significant problems if not addressed promptly. A short circuit occurs when a hot wire comes into contact with a neutral wire or ground wire, causing a surge in current that trips the breaker. This can happen due to damaged insulation, loose connections, or faulty wiring. To check for a short circuit, you'll need a multimeter, a tool that measures electrical properties. Multimeters are versatile devices that can measure voltage, current, and resistance, making them essential for diagnosing electrical issues. First, turn off the power. This is a crucial safety step to prevent any electrical shock or further damage to the circuit. Ensure the power to the circuit is off. Next, disconnect devices. This helps isolate the circuit and ensures that no external devices are causing the short. Unplug all devices and appliances connected to the circuit. Now, test for continuity. Continuity testing helps determine if there is a complete path for current flow, which is essential for identifying shorts. With the multimeter set to continuity mode, touch one probe to the hot wire and the other to the neutral or ground wire. This will help you identify if there is an unintended connection between these wires. A beep indicates a short circuit. This sound means that there is a direct connection between the wires, which should not be the case in a properly functioning circuit. If you detect a short circuit, you'll need to carefully inspect the wiring for damage or loose connections. Look for any signs of wear, frayed wires, or burnt marks that could indicate where the short is occurring. This is a job best left to a qualified electrician who can safely identify and repair the issue. Electrical work can be dangerous, and a professional will have the tools and expertise to fix the problem without risking injury or further damage. Sometimes the breaker itself might be faulty. Over time, breakers can wear out, especially if they've tripped numerous times. To test the breaker, you can use a multimeter again. First, turn off the power. Make sure the power to the circuit is off. Then, carefully remove the breaker from the panel. Now, test for continuity. With the multimeter set to continuity mode, touch one probe to each terminal of the breaker. A good breaker will show continuity when switched on, and no continuity when switched off. If the breaker doesn't show continuity in both on and off positions, or if it shows continuity when it's switched off, it's a clear sign that the breaker is faulty and needs to be replaced. If the breaker and the devices connected to it seem fine, the problem might lie within the wiring itself. Damaged, loose, or corroded wiring can cause a variety of electrical problems, including tripped breakers. While it's best to leave extensive wiring inspections to the pros, you can conduct a basic visual check. Look for damage. Examine the wires for any signs of fraying, cuts, burns, or discoloration. Pay close attention to areas where wires connect to outlets, switches, and junction boxes. Also, check for loose connections. Ensure that all wire connections are secure and properly fastened. Loose connections can cause overheating and lead to tripped breakers. If you notice any signs of wiring damage, it's crucial to call a qualified electrician to assess the situation and make the necessary repairs. Attempting to fix wiring issues yourself can be extremely dangerous if you're not properly trained. Troubleshooting a faulty breaker can be a straightforward process, but it's essential to remember that working with electricity can be dangerous if you're not careful. While this guide provides basic steps for troubleshooting, it's not a substitute for the expertise of a qualified electrician. If you're unsure about any step of the process, if the problem persists, or if you encounter something that doesn't seem right, don't hesitate to call a professional. Electricity is nothing to mess around with. Your safety and the well-being of your home are paramount. When in doubt, always err on the side of caution and seek professional help.